Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prasati Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Nam Shreshnam Manumapi Sachiputra Svarupam Rupam Tajagajam Gurupurim Matarim Goshtavati Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhikamarvasyam Prapto Yasya Patkapaya Sri Guru Tannatosmi Hey Guru Jnana Dina Bandhu Surandare Kuruni Kashindu Vrindavana Shina Hitavatara Prasidarada Hey Guru Jnana Dina Bandhu Guru Prasada Mahimandri Vaksavarade Tatavarade Vaksavarade Prabhupada with the Padapadanas Tishta Krishna. Hare Krishna. Now, I've spoken about decreasing my spiritual responsibilities in terms of accepting disciples. That was one of the motivations why I wanted other devotees here in the Hungarian Yatra, especially to accept that responsibility. For Swami Maharaj and Mahaprabhu Swami, they'll be also initiating at Radhastami, and they'll start increasing those responsibility, and I'm going to start decreasing. To date, I have how many sort of initiated disciples?
930.
930 disciples. So you have to forgive me if I don't remember everybody's name. And that's a lot. That's really a lot. I don't, in one sense, I think percentage-wise, well, I don't know what the percentages are. Maybe you know Chaitanya Chandra. The large percentage are in the UK and the other in Hungary. And then there are smaller numbers of devotees in other diverse parts of Europe and, for instance, Ukraine, Russia, India, and the West. I like to most be able to concentrate on the responsibilities I have now. We've been doing podcasts for how many years? 15?
2006. So that's
18 years. Over the last year or two, maybe it's been a bit sporadic in the sense that sometimes things are too tight. My writing schedule is quite a bit different than it used to be in the past. In the past, I used to I'm going to maybe raise this a little. It's the kitchen. Yeah, I'll raise it a little. After all, it's only just these devotees here. Let's make for a fellow. Yes, I've not concentrated on writing in the same way as I have in the last 3, 4 years, which is that it really takes up my entire morning, and sometimes I just squeeze some time in order to get podcasts out on time. And of course, there's been a spate of uh, health issues that's also contributed to irregularity. But I'm doing that. I'm writing, which is really, I think, one of the main ways in which I'm maintaining my connection with devotees, albeit perhaps what I'm writing now is not necessarily for everyone on this conference. I was talking to Guru Prasad Maharaj, who's here just after lunch, and he was saying that he tells his disciples that before they read any other books, they have to have read Prabhupada's books 3 times. So that's a good standard. And so what I'm going to talk about now are the decrease that I'm going to enter into, at least for the present. It may change in the future and become even more. There were times when Srila Prabhupada had stopped giving initiation, and then at a certain point, Prabhupada really just sort of said, no more. And of course, that was prior to his leaving this world. Srila Prabhupada had 5,000 disciples. It's a very major responsibility in Bhagavatam. Then Prabhupada points out that the spiritual strength of the spiritual master can decrease proportionately with the number of disciples that he takes. If he's a conditioned soul, if he's an eternally liberated soul, which, believe it or not, I'm not, then of course, like he said, big fire, small fire. Big fire can burn anything, but a small fire, if you put too much fuel on it, you can put it out. So I'm not about to go out, but at the same time, that spiritual weight can come also as a material weight in the form of sickness. And Srila Prabhupada pointed out that that was part of the reasons why he would be sick and so on. So the basic principle is that, and of course there will be exceptions. So, and we'll deal with exceptions on an individual one-to-one basis, but my traveling has greatly decreased. So I'm here, I'm in UK, usually in London. This year was an exception, and I go to India. So India is another category, I'll get to that. But aside from these 2 places, more or less, I want to stop to those places where I don't even travel. I want to stop accepting disciples. Jai Dhanita ki Jai, Gauranga ki Jai. So what are the places that I don't visit where I have disciples, or even do visit where I would want to stop. And this is a blanket policy. Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Romania, and the rest of the world, plus India. I go to India, but I'll explain why I don't really want to accept disciples in India, and I'm being asked to do so. The other places where I will continue to accept, at least for the time being, without, well, there'll be a tighter screening process. I was going to say without exception, there may be exceptions. That's Hungary, the UK, Turkey, and Dubai. Dubai is because I stopped through Dubai, going to India and back. But it won't be without exception, and it won't be as easy as it is right now. And although I'm not going to deal with introductions right now, I'm not going to deal with acceptances right now. But those devotees who haven't been formally accepted for discipleship, they're going to receive questionnaire form, and we're going to ask you to fill that form out. On the basis of that, we're going to screen devotees. I may just recommend to devotees, you should take initiation elsewhere. Either to the devotee of your choice, to the, or if you want me to recommend somebody, I can also do that. Just a note, which is not in these notes over here, is that out of those 930 devotees, Chaitanya Chandra, how many are only first initiated?
I think it's 400 and let me just check.
Huh?
1 second.
342 are first initiated. Okay, Manjari just gave that.
Okay.
342 devotees. Those devotees should just be very clear that the primary feature of Diksha is the second initiation. So if you haven't gotten the second initiation from me, and that doesn't mean that you know, you were just received first initiation yesterday and you want to get second initiation today. But if you haven't, then that person, well, it's a balanced discussion between the person who is the initiator, but that person may then become the primary spiritual master, may become your spiritual master. So I say that for those because I know from looking at the list, there are quite a few devotees who had first initiation years ago and have never really received second initiation. Is it important? Yes. Everything in Krishna consciousness is important. Nothing is unimportant. So that's just a aside to those devotees. So some of the questions which are going to be on this questionnaire is that how significant is your relationship with me? How much have we, how much time have we spent? How well do I know you? And how well do you know me? Formalities I've done formalities in Hungary for the sake of spreading Krishna consciousness. I did formalities, for instance, in some countries where there were some, where there was a need. For instance, when, I don't know, some spiritual master left Krishna consciousness, but my need for formalities or inclination for formalities is let someone else do it. But just a young man ready to digest a lot of karma. Good luck. How often devotees come here to Hungary? There's real substance to this relationship. It can't just be, I've seen somebody, I like his lecture, which is fine, but ultimately guru means teacher. So how can I teach, really? The internet is a fantastic medium and has really facilitated that. Of course, Srila Prabhupada placed great emphasis on his books, as we do for teaching. For me, the primary teaching is Srila Prabhupada's books that devotees should use. And my books are sort of supplementary to Srila Prabhupada's. But nonetheless, personal interaction, I don't know, for quite some years, we have been inviting devotees to spend time when I'm here in Hungary. We have a good list of devotees who come, ladies, men, but you can bet your life it's not 930 devotees who are coming. Or how many times we've had a discussion, do we have any plans for visiting in the future? How regularly do devotees listen to podcasts? I have so many devotees writing and appreciating that I'm doing those, although unfortunately I just do them off the top of my head. In English, that means that spontaneously. And then, of course, here's a question about reading books regularly, but reading my books should be done with senior guidance as to who's ready to read what books. There are some books that are for anyone, and there are some books that are for a little older details. How good are devotees sadhana? How good sadhana do they teach? What time do they wake up in the morning? No, I won't make any further comments of that. What kind of program do you keep at home? Morning program, evening program. How often do you come and to the temple, wherever that temple may be, whether it's around the corner or some other distance? And most important of all is, how much do you read Srila Prabhupada's books? Don't read Prabhupada books. Don't even write me out, wherever you are. So, Prabhupada gave his life and sacrificed his life for writing these books. And they are the most important literature for everybody to read, although there are so many books and increasingly more and more books, as there should be, available in ISKCON. But these are the books that are compulsory. Everything else is optional. And if you never get to read other books, that's all right. But if you read Srila Prabhupada's books, then you'll be all right. So, and then of course, other services, preaching. How much do devotees who working outside, how much do they donate? How much of their time do they give for preaching? Do they go on Harinam? Do they go on book distribution? I was up in Scotland, and this couple approached me. Can we be the disciple? I said, listen, I haven't been to Scotland in 6 years, and who knows when I'll be there next. It was a real effort to go there, and so they were a little persuasive. So I said, all right, every day you go. Excuse me, every Saturday you go. I guess they're probably on here. Every Saturday you go out on Sauchiehall Street. Sauchiehall Street is the main street in Glasgow, and you distribute books. And you send me the results, and then if you keep doing that, then I'll be convinced. So these are, one's a biologist, the other one's a computer walla. So yes, and then of course some other questions. Where do you see yourself in a year or 3 years in your Krishna consciousness? How do devotees plan to advance? Are you hearing from other spiritual masters? How serious is your interest in devotional life? And are you hearing from all spiritual masters? Well, are you hearing from Prabhupada? Do devotees regularly listen to Srila Prabhupada? Now, of course, I'm speaking to those who are English speakers, is that the devotees who speak English are able to, just like I have so many devotees sitting here, are able to hear Srila Prabhupada. It is most important. Prabhupada didn't just make copies of his lectures for his own disciples, but for generations in the future. If technology is worth anything, it's of value because you have videos you can see of Srila Prabhupada, and you can hear thousands of Prabhupada's recordings, which are all pure transcendental sound vibration, in which there's no mistake, free from any defect, and which is very foundational for you all to know what our founder Acharya is for developing a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And I think that that's here, Chaitanya Chandra, we talk about reading Prabhupada's books, but how strong is devotees' relationship with Prabhupada? And how much do you understand what Prabhupada taught? One thing is what's in his books, but there's a lot of things that are not in his books. Things that Srila Prabhupada said, you'll find those in the conversations, you find those in his lectures, and you'll find those in 1977. You have those 1977. Maybe you can give it to that girl. Send it those, something you can listen to. So, yes. So these are very, very important, the emphasis of being connected to Srila Prabhupada. And obviously in places where I'm not, which is more or less anywhere outside of Budapest and Krishna Valley, and anywhere else that I am. Well, I'm not in other places, or if I'm there, it's for a very short period of time, that the local GBC, spiritual master, temple president, how solid is that relationship? Because ultimately, that relationship is what's going to nurture devotees. I'm just going to talk about India for a second. I spent half my year in India, but I don't want to accept any more devotees in India, because if I do, then they are going to keep coming to me in India. And I'm going to Mayapur for the reason where I can just concentrate on chanting readings. Sometimes I take some devotees with me to be with exclusively with those devotees, but other than a few other disciples who do come and spend a considerable amount of time helping and doing service, I don't want to be obligated to, again, and it's 1.2 billion people over there, and there's a lot of devotees. I don't really want to be obligated to be training those devotees in India, which I see to be an increasing trend. So yes, Indian devotees, I won't accept. Now, here's a basic criterion also, which I would like, and have some water. And that is that for young devotees, men and ladies, who aren't committed, who don't have a family, who are either going to school, dropped out of school, or anywhere in between, then unless you're willing to move into the temple, wherever you are, and do 2-3 years of full-time service, basically Sankirtan, I'm not available. So, thank you. You have to, that's one thing, is that I really want, if I'm going to accept further devotees, then you have to do that. And of course, here in Hungary, I've been talking with the Swamis and the future gurus, but that should also be their standard. There's always exceptions, of course. But devotees should be willing to learn and be trained in Krishna consciousness, and especially they should learn to do book distribution and Harinam and prasadam distribution and preach and brahmachari gurukule vasadanto guru orhitam, and practice what our brahmachari dharma is all about, and what brahmacharini dharma is all about. That basic training, which is an invaluable training. So I think that's going to be a good filter system. Not that we want to actually really filter people out, but we actually want devotees to really be serious and recognize that this is not a formality. This is, I had confirmation. It was not a very serious business. All right, I had to do it. It meant nothing before. It meant nothing after. That's for Christians that they do that. It's sort of similar to initiation. And to be honest, it didn't mean anything to anybody who was there either. It was just sort of like some kind of social obligation that everyone had to do, and then it's over. And for those who are already somewhat settled in the world and have the means, that I'd like them to be regular donors, be giving at least 10% of their income, preferably 50% if they're that well off. And the beginning of that should be that they pay Nitya Seva. Yes. And so this was, the devotees are, what does it mean? How much is it worth? How much is this worth to you? How much does one value it? And then, of course, keep in mind that everything can be discussed, but I'm just trying to lay down some criteria. And for devotees who live here in Hungary and devotees from elsewhere, when we installed Radhesham, and the times after, we had this agreement that devotees who are here in Hungarian Yatra will come to do 2 weeks service a year for Radhesham Sundar. I think there's a handful of devotees who do keep that up. Shyamasundar is your God. It's not mine. Doesn't belong to the pujaris of New Brajadam. Belongs to everybody. And of course, everyone is tied down with services. That's one thing, is generally devotees are not lazy people. So, but still, just like there's this sort of constant lack of pujaris, and some devotees participate on a regular basis, but it could certainly be a lot more. So these are, I don't know, someone keeps sneezing into the Zoom. These are some of the things that I would like to present in the future, and we will process. Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu is really very amazing in the way that he's organizing both organizing in terms of categorizing and keeping track of devotees and disciples, and arranging conferences, programs, but also we will do this system of corresponding to devotees, and for those devotees who are waiting to be introduced, to be accepted, then they will receive these forms. Am I correct now, Chaitanya Chandra? Is there something you want to add?
No, that's exactly what we'll do, Ramaj. We'll formulate a questionnaire and we'll send those out to devotees.
Okay. And what period of time should they expect to receive it?
I think just after Radhastami.
Okay, good. Just right after Radhastami. How many, how many devotees does that add up to in those 2 categories?
We have 125 devotees that are introduced, and we have 93 devotees that are accepted. So it's 200 devotees.
I can't do that. Let's see. Let's see what happens. We will be fair and heartfelt in whatever it is that we do. I want what's best also for everybody. And it is a fact that everyone should keep in mind that the tick-tock, tick-tock, the clock is going around, or it's going back and forth, but in any way, time is going. Kalosmi, and we really need to think of what happens when a devotee gets initiated. For instance, we're having at Radhastami, what happens to a devotee who's 20 years old, and what happens to him in the next 60 years thereafter of his life. spiritual guidance. And so whereas Vapu is really quite secondary to Vani, physical presence is secondary to Vani, but we see, for instance, with Srila Prabhupada, that when his Vapu was gone, that similarly also devotees were very much dependent on that. They didn't necessarily fare so well or continue in the same way as they did before. And of course, there were other mitigating factors as well. So we want to see that devotees, it's not impossible that takes place, that sort of format that I just explained, but devotees should have very, very strong spiritual pillars upon which the Krishna consciousness is based when they're going to continue on in the physical absence of their spiritual master. So that's another important consideration. Okay, now if I'm just looking at the chat, you are chatting as a guest, I know, but I want to see, are there any chat? Are there any questions in this regard? And if devotees do, they can put them in. I think, yeah, that's me. I'm there. And if any devotees have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Perhaps it's something that could have been instituted a long time ago. We progress forward, being more organized in the way that things happen, and in one sense, less driven by institutional needs. And of course, the scope of accepting spiritual master is very much expanded in the last few years. Just the fact that the GBC has allowed that devotees or disciples can initiate in the presence of their initiating spiritual master. It's sort of a controversial topic because Srila Prabhupada said quite a few things to the effect that one shouldn't. On the other hand, our tradition says something else. And then also Prabhupada said, but on the order of the spiritual master, then it's also possible. So that's definitely sort of changed the whole dynamic and the whole playing field in terms of how that responsibility and how devotees can be benefited by accepting others as spiritual master. Who is Guru? Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nasi Shudra Kenenor. Jai Krishna Tattva say Guru Hoy. So someone who really knows the science of Krishna. Devotees also really need to know the science of I'm just seeing if in this chat I can make it any bigger. I guess not. Someone who knows the science of Guru Tattva. And they don't, on one side, we see spiritual master as Yasya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasado. On the other side, one should also recognize that there are different classes of Vaishnavas. And Srila Prabhupada, makes clear different places that devotees should strive to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. Who's an Uttama Adhikari? That's for devotee to determine. So, yes, if you, girl wants to get married, who does she want to get married? I mean, there's this traditional vision of a knight in shining armor. Now there are no more knights, and there's definitely no more shining armor nowadays. Rather they have the vision of, somebody dressed in black, driving a Maserati, and that replaces a knight in shining armor. But so one has criteria. So where's that person who fulfills that criterion? And of course, not that from that material point of view, but someone who is really, well, in the case of a husband in Krishna consciousness, someone who's a Vedic husband. Where's the Vedic husband? There's a few. The problem is there's only a few. Probably if we had more Vedic husbands, we'd have a better history in our Grihastha ashram, rather than the men depending on women to be Vedic wives. Of course, both should be Vedic, but since the man is the leader in the family, he's the one who has to be qualified first. So like that, that you want to accept someone according to qualification. Similarly, guru should be qualified and shouldn't be a rock star. And the act of visualizing myself, this is Alexander, performing a loving service, be considered a valid method for awakening truth. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about topics that I just discussed now. We're not talking about spontaneous love. I haven't even, you mentioned the word. So give me questions that are relevant. The next one is in Russian.
Translation is there, Gumaj.
Okay. Chaitanya Chandra Das.
That's the translation.
What? By Google?
By Manjari, she said that.
Google or Russian? It's very difficult for me to learn both intellectually and emotionally. Should I still try to pursue initiation, or would it be better to just focus on my service? Well, everyone needs to be initiated and learned. I mean, everyone's learned. Everyone went to school, so you learned. But even if you can't learn, then just hear. Emotionally, it's difficult to learn emotionally. All right, intellectually, there might be very complex philosophical issues in Krishna consciousness. But here, what we're talking about is here. Then you hear. For instance, there are very nice, the Bhagavatam is available also in a spoken format, as is Chaitanya Charitamrita. So devotees can hear. So hear. You don't have to learn, or just read. Just read the words, even if you don't understand anything. If you read, just look at the words in Prabhupada's books, and you'll advance. You just have faith in the books, and have faith in the transcendental sound vibration. it can qualify us to understand. Prasado Deshanu Grihita Evahi. You can also make a criteria for how many verses they have to memorize. Know the Bhagavad Gita within 5 years. How can I best prepare for the second initiation? You do Bhakti Shastri and do service in the deity department. It's something that's very good, that helps someone see what the sattvic life is. Very, very clean and neat. So ultimately, this is our purpose for practicing Krishna consciousness, that we want to come to the platform, to the mode of goodness, and to live in the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness doesn't mean that someone is softly spoken or that he's a nice guy. Mode of goodness doesn't determine those things. Mode of goodness means in terms of samodamastabaso chang shanti rajam amevacha jnana vijnanamastikam. So, and what is the primary qualification that Krishna says? Sattvam sanjayate jnana. That everything that you do, you know why you're doing it. It has a reason. So sometimes when I have devotees who come with me, when they do something or say something, then I start to grill them and I say, why? And he says something and I say, why? I learned this from Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He did that to me. So to think, well, why am I doing something? And what is the benefit? And ultimately, how does it relate to my service, to spreading Krishna consciousness? So everything has a reason. When all of the senses are illuminated with knowledge, I know why I'm looking at something, I know why I'm hearing something, I know that what I'm tasting and why I'm tasting that. So that's what mode of goodness is. And that's the platform for practicing Krishna consciousness. Then you don't have to battle with your mind. You don't have to worry about past bad habits, etc. So one then becomes happy. The point is not to become too happy. Anyway, don't worry about that. In Krishna consciousness, no one stays too happy for too long. There's always something exciting just around the corner. But yes, that is the platform for going to Krishna consciousness. Okay, how can we develop strong spiritual pillars in the absence of the spiritual master? Okay, well, I just did a set of seminars. Of course, that was in Hungarian. No, that was in English for devotees who came from Dubai. So Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavata Shravana, Mathuravasa, Sri Murtiya, Sharadharya Sevana. So usually 4 pillars are good. You consider on a rectangular or square edifice, and you have 4 pillars. Here are 5. One is in the center. So these are the main pillars that Lord Chaitanya gave us. Sadhu Sangha. How good is your association with Vaishnavas? That means that one associates especially with senior Vaishnavas, people who really inspire us in spiritual life. And then, of course, there's our Guru Parampara, and we associate with them by reading Srimad Bhagavatam especially. So Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan, how good is our chanting? It's a spiritual pillar. Is chanting all about trying to keep my mind from deviating off to something else? or is chanting about hearing the holy name. Sadhu Sanganama Kirtan Bhagavata Shravana, okay, I've spoken plenty about that. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, or of course, serving great devotees, Mathura Vasa, and your home, your car, your persona, your inside, your outside looks like the altar. It's like that, clean, neat, no extra superfluous things. So in that sense, being a minimalist is nice. And worshiping the deity. Devotees, anyone can have, except the ones who are living in New Rajadam, can have Gornitai at home. And they can worship Gornitai. In Krishna Valley, they worship Radhe Shyam. It's compulsory. So Prabhupada writes in the seventh canto, and what he's writing when I was studying Krishna Sandarbha and yes, Bhakti Sandarbha, then Jiva Goswami was stating the same thing, that Grihastas must worship the deity. Without worshiping the deity, they will fall down. Sachi, I thought you'd be sleeping. Aren't you tired? You are. Is that place okay? That was Harinarayan that picked it out for you. Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, I thought you just. It's close. It's close by. It's a short walk. So you already walked here? Okay, so you know where it is. And yeah, Sachi Suta and family are here for Radhastami and bhajans and Hare Krishna. Yes. And worship of the deities. Yes, without worshiping the deities, that they will have spiritual problems. May not fall down, but they may not naturally progress. This hambameti, with family and home and other things, it becomes very, very strong. So that's sort of dissolved by the presence of deities at home, having deities in a very prominent place, and also, of course, worshiping the deity in the temple. So this idea that I'm a servant and that nothing belongs to me, it's invaluable. And worship of Gornitai doesn't require excessive standards. Can you expand on the importance of second initiation? Some devotees say Harinam initiation is sufficient to go back to Godhead. It is, but you have to be able to chant offensively and purely. Did your son get Karela? You didn't get the Karela. We had. Did you eat for lunch? Did you eat? Because you had maha. Oh, we saved Tapsi saved Karela sabji. Yes, but second initiation allows you to worship the deity, and just as I said, so without this Pranchatriki Diksha, then you can't do deity worship. There's a standard of deity worship that we worship on the altar, and it becomes a additional feature of our spiritual development and chanting the Gayatri mantras, which are also very important. And there's a small book, I can't remember even what it's called, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains how, because he couldn't understand how Kaviraj Goswami says that the Kama Gayatri is 24 and a half syllables. So, because when you count it, it sounds like it's 25. And so when he, on the basis of that, that he couldn't understand where's this half a syllable anyway? Where does it go? He was willing to commit suicide. If I can't understand a mantra, how can I understand Krishna? And he had full faith in Kaviraj Goswami. He's an eternally liberated soul, so he doesn't make mistakes. But there's no reference anywhere in Shastra to this. There was, but it was a very obscure scripture on grammar, or obscure scripture on grammar. So it must be serious, and it must be important, and it is a very important thing. As I mentioned, traditionally, this is what Diksha is about. For instance, in Gaudiya Math, they don't give first initiation, and even until you get initiated, they don't even allow people to chant japa. You chant kirtan, but not japa. Of course, Srila Prabhupada allowed everyone to chant japa. He was spreading the holy name all over the world. And that's really a detail. But the important thing is that yes, this is our culture. This is our path of real connection. Divya Jnana Yatodaryat Kuryat Papa Shisamsaya. And understanding how these mantras are actually the sound form of the Lord. Another Russian. Oh, here's another one. Shall anyone aspire for second initiation? Unless one is initiated as a Brahmin, one cannot worship the holy name properly. Because in order to become free from offenses, in order to become very pure in chanting, the worship of the deities is really compulsory. I mean, you have to remember where we come from. We are not born in Brahmin families. We do not have high samskars. We are not already in the mode of goodness. So basically, we need all the help we can get. So why start, picking at this issue? It is a fact. How your Diksha disciples who can't visit you temporarily may compensate to increase relationship with you. I don't know. That's why I'm suggesting that better accept a guru who one can actually physically associate with while they are physically present. So if for some reason, like visa problems and so on, anyway, what can we do? But ultimately, Vani is the primary form of association. So we hear more. Which of your books would you recommend for aspiring disciples to read first of all? None. If you're an aspiring disciple, that means you haven't been around very long. You should just be reading Prabhupada's books. You don't need to read anybody else's books. You can buy them, but don't read them. No, devotees should really recognize that here are these 4 books. There's a real importance on reading and studying those books, and in the absence of which, if devotees don't do that, we will have a very Kanishta movement. and that's not going to be very inspirational for the rest of the world. And it's also not going to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement very well. So scholars is a different story. We have some scholars, but that's even Brahmins aren't necessarily scholars. But we need serious students, and at least devotees who know what it means to go back to Godhead. And what did Lord Chaitanya give us? Why did he come? What are we supposed to be practicing? What is Bhagavad Gita all about? Krishna was very disappointed. He was disappointed that he came and gave the Bhagavad Gita and told people to surrender, and nobody surrendered. So then it's no wonder that when devotees themselves also are not applying themselves seriously to Srila Prabhupada's books, it's a point of disappointment. For Prabhupada was also very disappointed. What was the use? He said, what was the use of his doing this if, especially disciples, devotees, followers of Krishna consciousness movement, it's their, primarily he wrote for them. And then the rest of the world outside, gradually, it has an effect on them. Just like today, we're talking to one young girl who's sort of just coming to Krishna consciousness. And I said, do you have any of Prabhupada's books? And she says, yeah, I have all of them. Says, how come? Because her father brought them on the Siget, who knows when. And he has the whole Bhagavatam set and Bhagavad Gita. So you don't know where they're going and who's reading, but primarily it's for those who are already very interested. So yes, aspiring devotees, you read Srila Prabhupada's books. Sad Goswami from Kazakhstan, Hare Krishna. Yes. Is it possible to receive second initiation not wear a Brahmin thread as the situation at home does not allow for it? My family members are not devotees. And there's always room for exceptions. Yes, Sadhguru. I guess so. Maybe what you can do is wrap it around your wrist, or something like that. Of course, the primary thing is the mantra. Although the thread, you look at any picture of any deity or demigod, and or Lord Brahma, and you'll see everyone is wearing the thread. So it is our sacred tradition, but it's Kali Yuga. Preaching gives facility for exceptions. Ladies aren't wearing Brahmin thread and they're chanting Gayatri. So I guess in certain cases, men can also do that as well. Okay, that's as far as we seem to be going in terms of questions. I had just exactly what the position of the spiritual master is in the institution. But that I'll talk about when we have our initiation ceremony on Radhastami. Well, as of day before yesterday, we had 900 registered guests. Never in the history of New Rajadam we've had 900 registered guests. And the festival is still a week away. So there's a lot of devotees. We're expecting many devotees to come. It's a 2-day festival, although initiations and etc. will happen on Sunday, and that's when Charan Darshan and otherwise from whenever, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I don't know, just from the UK, there's 250 devotees coming. So a lot of devotees attending, and we'll be having nice kirtans, and we'll have talks. We have who's coming. Well, Gokulnanda Prabhu, he's my Shiksha Guru. He's the one who preached to me, brought me to Krishna consciousness. So he's coming from Canada. And we also have and another Mataji who joined same time as I, Medya, Devi Dasi, and then there will be Yadubar Prabhu is coming. Who else is coming? Someone else is coming. I forget. Excuse me. There's another Russian one here from Rupa Manjari. So it's time is moving on. The really important thing, and I think a common thread that runs through the representatives of our disciplic succession, what all gurus ask their disciples is to please maintain the integrity of our movement. I don't know if you read that Vyas Puja offering that I wrote this year. More or less, it's about that. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left. That's what he wanted. Srila Prabhupada also said that just maintain whatever I've given. And that is really the duty of a follower now. Not that I've been initiated by somebody, but maintain what spiritual master has given, what Srila Prabhupada has given, what one has received in parampara, let's put it that way. Spiritual masters don't have missions. And there's only one mission in Krishna consciousness, and that's Prabhupada's mission. Or really Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. That's the only mission. And anyone who's a devotee, whether they're spiritual masters or not spiritual masters, their mission in life is to make sure Prabhupada's mission or Lord Chaitanya's mission continues. But for that, you have to know what it is. If you're just thinking, oh, well, Guru Maharaj will take care of it. We shouldn't take anything for granted. When we were young devotees, we just sometimes teachers of religious studies would talk to us and explain how there's a tendency in religions to splinter, to lose path, and so on. And we would just laugh. We said, no, things like that don't happen to us. But they'll happen to anybody. Why? Why shouldn't they? Jai Dharma, Jai Jai Kuranga Ki Jai. Krishna says to Arjuna, that Sakaline Hamahata Joganasta Parantapa. That they said to you, if you're tired, you should go. Sakaline Hamahata, this is the influence of time. So even when Krishna comes, Puritana Sadam Vinasarchaluskritam. And no, how does it go? Imam Vivashrati Yogam Poktavam Hamavyam Vivashvam Manave Praha Manurikshakir Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarsayo Vidhu Sakaline Hamata Yoga Nasta Prantapa. Even when Krishna comes, it's still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Lord Chaitanya said, when I leave, then people will make a complete shambles of my mission in my name. And so, same thing. We see that tendency is there. So what's the duty? The duty of every devotee, that's what it means to be a disciple. You're accepting the discipline that's being passed on from your guru, who's also a disciple, who accepted the discipline from his guru. But what is it? What is the mission? What is it that you're responsible for? If you don't know what you're responsible for, Prabhupada knew what he was responsible for. And for all intents and purposes, even though Srila Prabhupada said, oh, my godbrothers are going back to Godhead, but he also said his disciples didn't know what they were responsible for, what their real responsibility was. Or even if those who knew, they didn't choose to do it. It was too uncomfortable to go to the country of the Malechas and to preach to people who were cow eaters and so on. So you have to know what it is. And that's why Prabhupada's books are there. So we know what is Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale. So Rupa Goswami established Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. It's there in his books. And it's there in the teachings of those who are followers of Rupa Goswami, who are Rupanugas. So last question, which was, how can I learn not to be afraid of performing the service assigned to me? I'm constantly afraid of making mistakes. Well, you're better off making mistakes than not doing your service. Between the two, and you learn from making mistakes, and as long as someone learns, then that's fine. So, devotee means service. That's what someone who's a servant. So you're a servant, you do service. Otherwise, how do you be a servant or a das or a dasi? So you can't be a das or a dasi without doing service. You make mistakes, that's all right. You make mistakes and then you get corrected. So, and that's, why did you do that? I don't know. Why did you do that? I don't know is not an answer. When you told Prabhupada, I don't know, that just meant he got more penetrating, saying, why did you do it? You're not a robot. The robots nowadays are pretty smart. You're not some kind of dog or something, or a pet. You're a human being. Why do you do something? Think. And as long as we're thinking, we'll learn from our mistakes. Mistakes are not a problem. The real problem is when you don't learn from your mistakes. So that becomes the issue. So I'm going to stop there. We've been going on for long enough, and I think our main theme has sort of come through. Some devotees have given answers, questions, and we've tried to give answers. I want to thank you all very much for attending and participating, and we'll continue on sometime in the future. Look forward to seeing devotees who are coming to Radhastami, and we expect it to be a very historic event, especially if we're going to, when we're going to be doing, again, initiations by multiple generations of spiritual masters. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.